I'm Carl Stefanovic, and this is 60 Minutes. Good evening and welcome to the program. As supremely talented as she is, Britney Spears is also terribly tormented. Success has cursed the pop princess as much as it's rewarded her. In 2008, the pressure of fame became too much. Britney unraveled so spectacularly, she was placed under the control of what's called a conservatorship. It meant she wasn't allowed to make any decisions for herself. Last November, 13 years on, the strict legal order was overturned. But now, as she tries to reclaim her life, she faces more scrutiny. Tonight, in a controversial interview, Britney's ex-husband, Kfed, the father of her two sons, has agreed to talk after years of silence. A picture of domesticity in what seems like a very normal, middle-class home in Los Angeles. The dishes are being done, the dogs being fed, and the kids are playing outside. Like many other families, this brood is a blend of relationships. Except there's something that sets them apart.
Nobody can prepare you for anything like what I've been through, you know? I mean, nobody... But to me, I had a job to do, and that was my kids.
For Kevin Federline, there's no greater joy than being a dad to his 6 children, but it hasn't always been straightforward. You see, he shares the upbringing of 2 of his kids, sons Sean Preston and Jaden, with their mother, his ex-wife, Britney Spears. To make their lives as normal as possible, 15 years ago, he decided to dim the spotlight.
What happened to you? You disappeared.
Yeah, I think it was probably the best decision that I've made. And one of the best decisions I've made in my life.
But now, Kevin, or Kfed as he used to be known, wants to talk to the world. And a few weeks ago, he invited celebrity interviewer Daphne Barak into his home. He said it was time to explain how he and the boys have fared through the ups and downs of Britney's turbulent life.
Keeping my boys safe and making sure that they have a relationship with their mother and the rest of the family, that's what my role has specifically been in, you know, for me, for myself. Like, I can wake up every day and live with myself knowing that that is what I've been trying to do for the last 15 years.
These days, Sean Preston is 16, Jaden is 15, and Kevin Federline's life is a long way from the circus it was when he first met and fell in love with Britney.
I needed some companionship, and for some reason, I couldn't get this guy out of my head that I'd met.
Back in 2004, she was already one of the most famous women on the planet. The guy she couldn't get out of her head was a little-known backup dancer. It was impossible to tell who was the more smitten.
I've never really liked anybody. I'm very picky and very weird. But I like Kevin. Kevin's really cute and very sweet. And he's cute. And he's cute and he's older and he's nice and he's a really, really good kisser.
We were inseparable from that time. From the time we met, it was different. You know, everything was just, it was amazing. It really was. It was this relationship it was really, you know, we listened to each other. We talked to each other. We tell jokes to each other. We did all the things that, you know, you do in a new relationship, but it was magnified by 100. So it was really different. Until it wasn't.
I want to introduce you guys to my friend Kevin. He wants to leave. He just got here.
There were complications, though. Kevin was a love rat who already had a fiancé, a son, Caleb, and another child on the way. But Britney flew him over to London to join her European tour, and, well, that was that.
Hi! Kevin, we have to ask you a question.
Oh, God, here we go.
How do you feel about marriage and commitment?
I feel that
But not everyone was in love with this love match. Many saw Kevin as little more than a party boy gold digger.
All of the discrimination towards me when me and Britney got together and all this stuff, you know, there were so many things out there. I was never good enough, and oh, you're this, you're the poor white trash loser, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I was built to be able to take that because it didn't bother me at all.
The paparazzi didn't leave either of them alone for a minute. It meant their wedding had to be a top secret surprise, even for the guests.
They all thought they were going there for our engagement party.
It was really, really sweet and very nice.
Newly hitched, the couple wasted no time starting their family. Sean Preston arrived a year later and Jaden a year after that. But by then, the fairy tale was showing signs of fracturing. Even so, Kevin says he was completely shocked when in 2006, Britney filed for divorce.
Just found out I was getting divorced. I called my lawyer, he met me in Chicago, and we sat down, and the only thing that I told him that all I care about is getting 50% custody of my sons. You know, I can't. I don't. Nothing else mattered to me. Nothing. You know, you can't. I'm not the person that will take money over family.
What followed was an at times tough battle between Britney and Kevin for the boys. It coincided with the difficulty Britney was having coping with the pressure of pop stardom. Sadly, her breakdown played out in front of the world.
I was mortified for her. I really was, for a long time. Way past the time that people were watching. It's been years. I still feel bad for her. You know, I mean, it's hard. It's
had barricaded herself inside the room at one point.
She was rushed to the hospital overnight.
Was wheeled out, brought here to Cedars-Sinai Hospital last distressed.
In 2008, Britney's father, Jamie Spears, stepped in to take drastic action, placing her under a conservatorship. The strict legal order meant he controlled everything, her money, who she talked to, and even what she ate.
Let her go through at least. Give her some room to go through.
Rather than pick one side, Kevin says he supported both his ex-wife and her family. It's a diplomacy he's maintained with his sons.
How did you explain to your kids what is a conservatorship? Why is mom not being able to make her own decisions?
They've had a lot of questions about it. I don't know that I can answer all of them for them, you know, but I just try to explain to them that your mom needed help, you know, and the people were in play to try to make that happen, to make it better.
For Sean Preston and Jaden, their very famous mum's very infamous conservatorship added to the confusion of being brought up as the children of divorced parents. Even today, Jaden believes his grandfather, Jamie Spears, only had good intentions for his daughter.
At first, I mean, everyone was mostly hating him for the conservatorship, right? But I think at first he was just trying to be like any father, like pursue her daughter's dream of like being a superstar and working and going and all these concerts and performing. But I think some people are just like ceasing to realize how much he cares about her.
Kevin Federline, who saw Britney at her troubled worst, agrees his ex-father-in-law was doing his best at a very tough time.
Just because they're not my immediate family, you know, they're my kids' immediate family. You know, that's their grandfather and their grandmother and their uncle. And I feel that it's very important that they have relationships with all of them, regardless of what happens. I wasn't involved in any of it, so I really don't know how the conservatorship came about. I don't know whose decision it was. I don't know. All I know is that you have a family that is worried about their daughter and trying to do whatever they can to help her. Okay. That's all that I knew. The boys, my kids, my family, and that was it. I had to worry about them. I couldn't get involved in all of the other stuff because it's just, I don't feel like it would be fair to Britney. I don't feel like it would have been fair to my sons. I have no part in any of that.
So you feel Jamie might have saved his daughter?
100%. I feel like he saved her back then.
But as you'll see, that's certainly not what Britney thinks.
I honestly, still to this day, don't know what really I did, but the punishment of my father, I wasn't able to see anyone or like anything. And you have to imagine none of it made sense to me.
For 13 years, Britney Spears was not allowed to make any decisions for herself. But with the support of her fans, who organised a global campaign known as the Free Britney movement, she fought to overturn the conservatorship that had controlled her life. Last November, she won.
It's official, the conservatorship of Britney Spears has been terminated.
Despite her victory, though, it's clear the pop star hasn't forgiven her family. Last week, Britney released an audio recording that did not hold back.
My heart would just want to stand up in my family's faces and scream and cry and throw a tantrum and go back in time and do exactly what I wanted to do at those times. Yeah, and might even spit in their fucking faces. Why? Because the pain my family gave me, sitting me there all day and not being able to use my feet, as they watch their grandchildren run bases to base in a family neighborhood, as if I'm dead or I don't exist, honestly makes me look up and say, how the fuck did they get away with it?
Britney's former husband, Kfed, says he understands Britney's anger, but he also wants her to know sons Sean Preston and Jaden were thrilled when their mother's conservatorship was overturned.
Both of them were happy for her, you know, because it's not always about what's right. It's about, this is what mom wanted, you know, mom got it.
40 years old and free at last, Britney had a lot of life to catch up on. Top of her to-do list was marrying longtime boyfriend Sam Asghari. 3 months ago, they celebrated at a celebrity-studded event. But the wedding revealed just how broken this family really is. None of Britney's closest relatives were there, not even her 2 sons. The youngest, 15-year-old Jaden, says the reason is simple.
I'm really happy for them, but like, I mean, she didn't invite her whole family, and then if it was just gonna be me and Preston, like, I just don't see how that situation would have like ended on, you know, good terms.
The end of the conservatorship and Britney's efforts to reclaim her life have inevitably led to questions about her taking more control of her relationship with her sons. She used to share the boys 50-50 with Kevin, but a few years ago, their co-parenting hit trouble. Kevin says it was because Sean Preston and Jaden weren't always happy living at their mum's home. In 2019, a court awarded Kevin 70% custody, and the boys moved in with him full-time.
Yeah, so the boys have decided that, you know, they're not seeing her right now. It's been a few months since they've actually even seen her.
Not only did Britney not like the boys' decision, she hated Kevin telling the world. Their bickering led to an undignified social media tit-for-tat between the two that saw Kevin post an embarrassing old video of Britney fighting with the boys in her home. It's something he still defends doing, even though he quickly took it down.
I've spent the better part of my adult life turning the other cheek in response to attacks on me. When our children are attacked, I found the need to set the record straight to be overwhelming.
Despite all the recent noise, Jaden and Sean Preston live pretty normal teen lives. And to no one's surprise, they've both inherited a talent for music from their famous mum.
I want to figure out something that I can do in my future so I can pursue something just like she did. And she was super inspirational for me as when I was younger.
Well, both of them are really, really sweet kids. I mean, they're good human beings, which is always a pleasure to have.
But by stepping back into the spotlight, Kevin has infuriated Britney's army of devoted fans, who include a number of high-profile celebrities.
Only cowards use the media against a famous person who they once loved, they procreated with.
They question why he's chosen to speak with celebrity interviewer Daphne Barak and what he hopes to gain. Given his claims, there's nothing more important than his family's privacy.
I want my sons to have the closest thing to a normal life that they can possibly have, because it'll make them better people.
Uh-huh. Can they have normal life?
I think it's possible. They see me, so they know that if they really want to get away, they know how to get away.
The truth is, when your mother is one of the most famous faces in the world, a normal life is probably too much to expect. But there's no doubt both of Sean Preston and Jaden's parents only want the very best for their boys.
Now, if instead of me, Britney was sitting here, what would you tell her?
I don't know. It's really, that's like the toughest, one of the toughest questions. You know, I try to think about that question because there's so many mixed emotion in there. You know, the father in me, the ex-husband, you know, it's hard to like tie it all together because I would want to apologize and then give advice and then ask if there's any way I can help.